B, Irulau. Watch your back, the trench is gonna get you. Watch your back, the trench is gonna get you. Watch your back,
Oh, there's a giant here. It's a coming from the agility. Gotta wash those red hands. It's the crimes of the Badlands. It's the crimes of the Badlands.
Hi, Douglas.
Hi, Julie. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
We're doing great. I'm excited about season 2.
Yes, we're starting. No, well, we've already started season 2.
Well, this is going to be season 2, right?
Yeah, this will be part of
the first season. Or it's true that we have other podcasts that are not going to be. This is not the first podcast of second season.
No.
But
it's our first recording.
First recording after a break.
Yeah.
And it's so everybody remind us if we do something wrong.
No, don't.
I mean,
unless you want to. But...
I mean, we only half of our emails are complaints. we're doing good on average.
Yeah, so far so good.
I think
we're coming out unscathed.
How
was your break? How was your summer?
It's nice. I stayed in Bilbao. Mm-hmm. My mom came to visit, which was lovely.
Yeah. That was. I met your mom. She's a lovely, lovely lady.
Very sweet to walk around Bilbao with her and show her the sights and eat the delicious foods.
Yes.
That's all it was about.
I went back to Boise, another Basque land.
One of the real Basque lands.
Yes. And I ended up hanging out at the Basque Center. Like, I go all the way over to the U.S., and I end up hanging out at the Basque Center.
And you didn't have
and there was
sticker.
Dancers and everything. They had a band, and yeah, it was pretty funny.
How sweet.
Like, how did I end up hanging out in the Basque Country, coming all the way over here?
It follows us, Julie. We fell in love with it somehow, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And I hope everybody falls in love with parts of the Basque lands. It's not all to be loved, but there's a lot to be loved.
Well, like most places, right?
Exactly.
So this is Crimes of the Basque Lands. It's
yes.
a podcast about crimes that take place either in Euskadi, which is the Basque Country, or around the world that have any tenuous link to the Basque Country.
Yeah, mostly we think about descendants of people from the Basque Country, so we'll just look for a surname, and that's enough for us to talk about whatever happens. And we like to take crimes from present day and some historical aspects. And then sometimes we do kind of more current things, which is chiquisodes, right? We just kind of talk about stories and headlines that always do have a tenuous connection to the Basque lands. Thus our crazy title. We also like to have a drink with ourselves, don't we?
Yes. So tonight we're drinking a chacoli, which we've drank before. It's Mendigorri, and it's Mendi Mountain.
Yes.
Gorri Red.
Yeah, you got it. The Red Mountain.
See, I'm learning my Basque.
How sexy.
This is from Getaria.
Getaria, very traditional chacoli producing region.
Yeah. All right, well, should I get started on the story for this week?
Dive in.
Okay.
Let's dive in.
So I'll start with my sources. Día El Mundo.
Newspapers.
Yes. La Información. La Vanguardia. El Correo.
And like there's people in Bilbao. I mean, they talk about it too.
They know about these. And AITB. Bilboko Compartsac. Is also a source. And of course Wikipedia. You know, can't.
Nice. Don't
Always
forget
gotta get
them.
something from Wikipedia. So tonight's episode is a timely one, right? Because at the time of recording today, we just finished celebrating Aste Nagusia in Bilbao.
Yeah. Aste Nagusia is the big week, kind of the main week. You could also translate it. You can translate a few different ways, but the big week is kind of a good translation.
Yeah.
And it refers to the week-long festivities for Bilbao fiestas. And traditionally, in Spain and Portugal, normally a city has fiestas at the day of the patron saint of that city or town.
Yeah.
However, because there were no fiestas, as far as I understand, before the end of the dictatorship.
No, there was.
There were. Oh, this is part of your story.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that they refounded them, right? They
Yeah.
started again somehow
Yeah.
after the dictatorship.
They went through a change.
Yeah.
If you will.
And
I'll go over that.
so, and part of that was, I don't know if it was the same length before, but
I don't
it's not very religious anymore. Like the whole refounding of the thing, the main character of our fiestas is called Marihaya. So Haya means party, and you can also, instead of saying fiestas, you can say hayak if you're using the Basque term. And so she is called like Mary Party, if we're going to translate it. So she stands in for a saint. Instead of being Saint, Paula or Maria or whoever, we call her, Party Maria, Mary Party. So she's she stands in for the patron saint. And because it goes from, is it Friday? No, it's Saturday till Sunday, right? So that's why it's called a big week, because it's not 7 days, it's
9.
a little bit longer, exactly. Yeah. So that's my explanation for Aste Nagusia.
Good. Yeah, and so like things like fireworks every night. There's the Toro de Fuego, which is hilarious.
I don't know what that is.
You don't?
No.
It's the guy that wears the bull thing on his back, and it's got fireworks shooting off like sparks.
Right.
So it's the
Does he run after
Toro's
children?
bull, right? And
yes,
then it just it runs after children. So it's like such a crazy, like the kids are running from this fiery bull.
Right. It must be something
hilarious
that happens
to me in a place, obviously there aren't a lot of lawsuits here. For danger.
I mean, when the child,
I've never heard of anybody getting hurt.
When the 5-year-old trips and falls on the floor, running away from the scary bull, no Bilbaíno would sue the city or anything. But, we could imagine it happening somewhere else.
Yeah, like the first time I saw it, I was just like blown away. There's also like the Giants' Heads parades.
True.
Right?
I've seen that once.
That's like for kids. There's lots of stuff for kids. There's lots of stuff for everybody, actually.
Sure.
They have the rural sports competitions.
Never seen that one.
I have, only because one year Gavin competed, so I went to watch.
What did he compete as?
It's in the Ardennes, like right in front of the Opera House.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, he had to carry the milk jugs.
Oh, that's so cute. Milk jug carrying as a sport.
Like a race with the 2 heavy milk jugs.
So cute.
And of course, like cutting wood and...
That's one of the other typical
Sawing
ones.
wood is another one.
Sawing wood. Cutting with the axe.
Lifting the stones over your shoulder.
Yep. And then there's the cow that drags stones. That's a typical one as well.
Yeah, but
maybe they don't do that here.
No, they wouldn't do that in the middle of the city.
Fair enough.
And then, there's like theater, bullfights, right? So that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then but there's like music, shows. Concerts, yeah.
So, a joyous and rather raucous occasion, if you will. So if you've never been, it's worth a visit because it's quite impressive as well.
It's crazy. Crazy. The whole downtown area, close to the old town, just becomes a big party area. Like as if you just put a music festival right in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And just let it go for 10 hours?
9 days.
Yeah, 10 hours every day. This brings us to one of the most important words in the Basque culture, I think.
What's that?
Gau pasa.
Gau pasa, yeah. Have we talked about that before? I think we might have.
Probably. The cute listeners, the completists, probably know it.
So what explain it.
Gau pasa, it means you pass the night. So pasar, same thing, and then gawa is the night. So if you you go through the night. So you
stay up all night into the next day.
There's surely a term in English for that, but it's if you stay up all night and don't go to sleep, and then you're still up around 11, you're like, oh, how's the day going? I'm like, you're doing great, go pasa. As in, you haven't been to bed.
You have not.
You're still up.
You're still out and about. Yeah. The story I'll be telling you today is one that took place during Aste Nagusia in 1983. Okay.
I'm afraid I already know the gist of it.
Yeah. This is my 1-sentence synopsis, okay?
Let's go for it. Let's go.
Agua Fiestas takes on a new meaning in the 1983 Aste Nagusia of Bilbao. So what is Agua Fiestas?
So Agua Fiestas is a word that is agua, water, fiestas,
Party.
the party. So the water party, it doesn't make sense, but
In English it'd be party pooper.
It is, exactly. Thank you for the translation. That's the meaning.
So if you call somebody an Agua Fiestas, it means that they're like a party pooper. They're trying to bring down the vibe.
Yes.
I'll set the scene, okay?
Set the scene, babes.
So August 15th is the day of the Virgin, the Virgin,
Right.
here in Bilbao, as you were saying before about the patron, right?
Right.
So ours is a virgin. More than...
You say so.
I know, because it's either a virgin or some dude. So, on that day, more than 150,000 people make a pilgrimage to the Basilica of Begonia, which is where the Virgin Saint is. The Virgin Saint of Bilbao is the Begonia.
Up the mountain.
Mm-hmm. And so they come from all over Biscaya. She was declared the patron saint of Biscaya by Pope Pius X in 1903. But most importantly, it is a holiday, and people get the day off work. So, score.
Score. I'm good with holidays.
And even more importantly, this day will set into motion when we celebrate Aste Nagusia, right? As you were saying, the big week. So this year, the 15th of August was on a Tuesday, meaning our fiesta started on the following Saturday, the 19th, and then continued through the entire week, ending on Sunday, the 27th. That was this year. Okay. So, most towns in the Basque Country or in Spain, they have a town festival celebrating one saint or another.
I mean, Portugal, France, Italy, they do that as well.
I imagine, yeah.
But
I've never lived in any of those
make
places.
Make it neutral,
yeah. During the dictatorship of Franco, the August festival in Bilbao offered public events like the Giants parades, the Gargantua, which is like
just a slide.
It's a slide, but it's like in the shape of a Basque man, and the slide comes out of the mouth. So the kids...
It comes... You climb up into the mouth.
Oh, you climb up the mouth, and then you slide out the back.
Exactly.
On the slide.
Like a poop.
Yes, he's pooping you out. He's eating you and then pooping you out.
It's still a big thing for children in Bilbao.
Yeah, and the one that we have is like, it's got the big chapella.
Yeah, it's great.
I
love it.
Maybe you can find a picture of that for our social media.
It would be cute.
Because it is pretty funny.
It would be cute.
There was concerts, there was Basque dancing, apparently, even during Franco days. Carnival rides, fireworks. Yeah. And along with like other paid shows like theater and bullfighting, all that stuff.
Right.
Operas, things like that.
Oh. Interesting.
So none of this at the time was organized by the actual citizens of the city. Okay. So in 1973, El Corte Inglés, which is a department store.
Yeah, like Macy's or something would be in New York.
Yeah.
Corte Inglés is for the whole state of Spain and the Basque Country.
Yeah. They organized the first ever Basque Rural Sports Week called Herri Kirolak.
Yeah, Herri is a village and Kirolak is just sports. So village sports is literal translation.
Yeah. So at the time they featured the best athletes of these sports.
How fun. The sports we were just talking about. Lifting stones, carrying jugs of milk.
Sawing things in half, logs in half.
Hilarious. You have to come and watch.
It is pretty fun. Carrying milk jug.
I mean, talk about pride in your culture. I mean, it's the best. It's the best. I just love it.
So this turned out to be pretty popular among the citizenry. So as a result, the store, the Corte Inglés, they proposed that the participation of the city council also participate in this.
Okay, yeah.
So they wanted this event to be like a mainstay during the future fiestas or festivals, and it was rejected at the time. Okay?
Oh.
So in 1977...
Just after he died, Franco.
In 1977, the radio presenter and journalist, Sorion Eguleor,
probably.
Thank you. He suggested on his show to hold a callejera, which is a street parade, right? Calle is street.
Well,
Gira is tour.
Well,
but spelled in the Basque way, right?
You're mixing a little bit. We would say callejera, not calle. Calle is
sorry, it's callejera.
Yeah,
you're right. I did pronounce it wrong.
I mean,
like I do on this podcast.
Fine. Well, calle is the word for street in Castilian.
Yes.
With a double L. And then in Basque, instead of C-A-L-L-E, they say K-A-L-E.
Yeah.
And instead of saying Y, you say an L. So calle.
Calejira.
Yeah. So just for the listeners.
Yeah.
It's...
So he suggested to hold this calejira to include more of the population in the festivities, okay?
Right. So I'm...
So he did a call out on the radio. He was like a presenter at the time.
Are you going to define what calejira is? Because I know what it is now. I'm not sure.
Well, it was like a street parade. Right. So I don't know. Is there a new meaning to that?
Well, now it's a specific thing. It's the first day of fiestas. We do calejira before the opening of fiestas.
Okay.
And calejira is you go through the old town, like zigzaggy, like through a few places. Mm-hmm. So kind of... And then people throw water in you if they want. That's part of the festivities.
Agua fiestas?
Not quite. Not quite. No, it's not. And, but yes, foreshadowing. And then... we get to in front of the theater, Arriaga Theater, and that's where Marihaya comes out, starts the party, and that's when the music starts. Mm-hmm. So that's specifically what calejira is today.
So he called for this. He wanted to bring out people to do this sort of thing.
Fun. He didn't know what he was starting.
Yeah, so it surpassed his expectations, and more than 5,000 people came out. Of all ages, with their icurriñas.
Icurriña is your Basque flag. It's like calling the Union Jack by its name. Mm-hmm. Union Jack. Yeah, Icurriña is the name. And it's got a lot in common with the Union Jack. Mm-hmm. It was inspired by it.
Oh, jeez.
I mean...
And they had their athletic flags, the football team, right?
Yes.
There was chistulares. Chistularis?
Yes.
Which are the flute players. It's like a little flute type.
Chisto is the name of the local flute.
Yeah.
The local...
Danzaris, which are the dancers.
Danzaris.
Excuse me. Danzares.
Very good.
And so again, they went to propose before the city council that this be more of like a public involvement.
Let's do that.
Okay, so this is what their explanation was for this. So the festivals of Bilbao for years and traditionally has been ensured that they lack the authenticity of popular participation. The fiestas of Bilbao, in short, are not popular. They do not transcend the general public of Bilbao because the people do not participate in them. The issue has been repeatedly discussed both socially and in our media. The festivals in their most popular spirit and argument should represent the locality and the personality of a town. For this reason, El Corte Inglés, because remember El Corte Inglés brought in the sports, and the collaboration of the town hall and the participation of the media is holding an ideas competition under the slogan, "Let's make the Bilbao fiestas popular." It is the people of Bilbao who must contribute, suggest achievable ideas for eminently popular festivities that satisfy the people of our neighborhoods, the entire community of Bilbao residents, and that respond to the most sincere expression of achieving among all of us to make a better Bilbao.
That's very sweet. It's very hopeful. I mean, it's the kind of thing you would, very inspirational. I like that.
All right, let's take a break. Okay, so they wanted to have some ideas how the population could become part of the fiestas, okay?
I mean, don't we need to say, hey, we're back?
Oh, yeah, we're back.
We're back. So they wanted to have some ideas about
the
fiestas.
city council accepted it with that explanation that I gave, and that they wanted some ideas from the people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of the winning ideas was the beginnings of the comparsas, okay, which you briefly spoke about when we were talking about fiestas, right? So the comparsas are made up of cuadrillas. Cuadrillas? Do you want to explain?
Oh my gosh, that's like a whole episode on cuadrillas, but...
The origin of cuadrillas.
A cuadrilla is a typical name that you give to your group of friends. However, it's a very institutionalized group of friends. So usually it's your friends from school. Or, I mean, these days, usually if you have a second cuadrilla, it's from fiestas. So it's from... those kinds of commemorations where you join a comparsa, like a group with, and this is probably part of what you're going to say, with a message, right? Some are pro-feminist, some are pro-LGBTQ+, some are pro-Basque language, some are pro-whatever, like animal rights.
Like cuadrillas, associations, social sector groups. Yeah.
But, but the comparsa has a kind of thing, like feminism.
Yeah.
Whereas
like
quadrilla,
some sort of social action, right?
Yeah, like some message, something you want to put forward, be it Basque language or feminism, right? Like to go for a couple of examples. But then you don't necessarily need to go with your quadrilla, the whole quadrilla, into, people have different interests. But it's true that quadrillas are kind of more like a family than a group of friends, because it's really rare that people are kicked out of it or join it, to be honest. They're kind of fixed once you left school. They're usually that group of friends, and they meet quite often through the year, even into like post-adulthood with your children. You'll meet your quadrilla and then your husband's quadrilla, and maybe if you have a second quadrilla from fiestas, that'll be a more closer to your interests group of friends. But that's the kind of traditional structure of quadrilla and comparsa. Would you agree?
Yeah, good.
I hope everybody could follow that. But we're going to go on about this for half the episode.
In the beginning, they had like minimal requirements, what would make up a comparsa.
Okay.
Right? So it was a minimum of 50 people, and they all had to wear the same outfits. That was
nice and
basically
easy.
The requirement, yeah.
Got a blue shirt, white
So generally
pants.
today, it's like t-shirts, right? Matching t-shirts.
That's what we do today. We usually, if you're working with the comparsa, they'll give you a uniform.
Yeah.
Usually.
So you also today speaking, back in the day it wasn't this strict, but you have to, in order to form a comparsa, you have to demonstrate that you are a form of like social organization that's doing something for the community in some way or another. So each comparsa will erect its chosna. So a chosna,
it's like the bar, but it's like a temporary bar. You just set it up with scaffolding. And generally
decoration.
today,
They decorate it, yeah.
Back the day, you'd make some wooden structure. Of course, decorate it with your theme, So if you're a feminist, you're going to go whatever your slogan of the year is. And there's stickers, there's music. But there's a lot of music over a lot of music. So
yes, there is. Yes, there
it's pretty chaotic anyway. So at least 3 chosnas get together in general to supposedly coordinate. But it's pretty chaotic. It's pretty fun.
So this idea to create these comparsas that would erect their chosna in the Arenal, which is where where all the chosnas are basically, that's the main area.
Yeah.
The Arenal is like
is the plaza.
Yeah.
In front of the theater.
In front of the river. Yeah.
Right. Like just next to Old Town. It's like very emblematic, very like one of the oldest plazas in Bilbao, I think.
So in the beginning, the city council assumed there'd be no more than like 8 of these comparsas. But in the first year, it was 24.
Wow.
And it was made up of more than 1,600 people.
Wow.
So 1,600 people, yeah.
Very good.
Today, there are 30 comparsas.
Oh, I didn't
The
know.
oldest ones being, okay, here we go. Bizia Leak. No.
Bisisaliak.
Yes, thank you. So, Onsak. Pimplipausa.
Pimpilimpausa, yeah.
Satorrak.
Satorrak, yeah.
Tintigorri.
Tintingorri.
Chominbarruyo. And Uribari.
Uribari. Oh, nice. Sweet.
And of those, which one is your favorite, Douglas?
I think I have to say Pimpilimpausa.
Yeah. I figured you would.
Yeah, because it's the most gayest and partiest.
It's the gayest.
One.
And they are like all about the party.
And can I tell you a little detail about Pimpilimpausa you might not know?
Yeah, please.
So traditionally, all the kind of pubs, the chosnas, right, the bars, they have food. And then, I don't know, because at some point people expected every Chosna to have food, Pimpin Pausa, their social motto is just to have fun. It's not Basque, it's not, women, it's just to have fun.
Fun, yeah.
So what they spend their money on during the rest of the year is not Basque or feminism, it's just getting drunk and having fun. So their drink, their food was champagne and cake.
Oh my god.
So that's the only thing they served. If you want food, there's champagne and cake. Which I think, you get the feeling. They don't do that anymore. They don't do food anymore.
Glitter.
And
tope.
Today, their main thing is just glitter.
They
Tons of
hand
glitter.
people like a little cup of glitter.
You just ask for glitter, they'll give you glitter.
They'll hand you a little cup of glitter.
And do that.
And if you ever go to that Chosna during fiestas, you will go home and have glitter in your bed.
For the rest of the year.
Yeah.
To remember
you will
fiestas.
never get rid of that glitter.
Exactly. It's
I mean,
all
just
about
being
fun.
there, you don't even have to ask for the glitter. Just being in the presence of the Chosna, you'll be covered in glitter.
Yeah, because two quadrillas over to the left, somebody gets excited and throws it in the air, and it falls on everybody. Mm-hmm. It's.
I mean, this year we were
fun.
there one night, and just by rubbing up against people, I was covered in glitter by the time I got home.
Exactly. So fun, and they have good fun concerts.
Yeah,
fun,
they do.
Fun music.
Yeah.
Drag queens. So I do love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I do love that.
Okay, so here's some other notable features of Aste Nagusia. There's the town crier, or the pregoilari. That's the person that's in charge of reading the announcement of the festival and encouraging people to attend. Officially, they would simply read the proclamation. And in the past, they had no other formal role. But today they attend various events throughout the week. They're a big mainstay, right?
Yeah.
And they make appearances.
Yeah,
right?
It's become a personality thing.
It's part of it.
It's part of it.
In 1988, Giuseppe Thauso, he designed their uniform, consisting of a yellow tailcoat jacket, a black plumed bicorn hat. So the bicorn hat is that like triangle type hat.
Kind of like Captain Cook, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A white guerrico, which is a sash.
Good, thank you.
White pants or skirt for everyday wear, and black for ceremonies.
Wow.
So I like that they have two different... The pants or the skirt are changed depending on what they're doing. The uniform is a play on the uniforms that the liberal militias wore when defending the town against the Carlistas during the sieges of Bilbao.
Ooh,
Remember the Carlistas?
Refer back
we talked about them a couple of times. The Chupinera is the official kickoff of Aste Nagusia. Mm-hmm. It's the firing of a rocket or firework to get things started. This is actually an old municipal job in Bilbao, exclusively held by women.
Oh.
And was apparently handed down from mothers to daughters.
Oh, that's kind of cute. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, like a king and queen thing where it's blood and that's weird. But at the same time, if it's just somebody random... Yeah. That's cute.
So their role was to just notify residents of the great popular ceremonies or the festivals by firing the chupins, the little fireworks.
Oh.
They too have an official uniform, a red tunic with epaulets. I don't even know what that is.
Epaulets.
Oh, epaulets. Thank you. Thank you. I just can't pronounce words.
I mean, if you didn't know if it was Basque or English, it's understandable.
Black piping, so the tunic has black piping on the neck and gold buttons, a black skirt with a side slit, very official, white or red chapella. Later it was decided to leave only the red one, with the villa's shield embroidered on it. A medium-heeled black patent leather shoes with white stockings. So that's their uniform.
Very specific.
Yeah. Originally, when the first Fiestas Commission of 1978 decided to bring back this role as part of Aste Nagusia, it was given to a municipal worker. But today the role of Chupinera is given to a member of one of the comparsas.
Oh, that's sweet.
Mm-hmm. A compartsera.
Compartera
would be the person, right?
In Castilla.
Compartsera. What would it be in Basque?
Maybe compartsaile. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
And last but not least, we can't talk about Aste Nagusia without mentioning our mascot, Marihaya, which you mentioned before, right?
Yes.
So since 1978, she has been the official symbol of the festivities. She's a robust woman in a comfortable yet not so attractive outfit.
I like how they define it as not
I
so
defined it that
attractive.
way. That's how I was trying to think of how can I define she looks like.
It's very
terrible makeup job. Like really bad makeup.
Yeah.
Her arms are perpetually raised as if she's dancing her ass off.
Yeah,
like having a great time.
Yeah. Drunk older lady.
Yeah.
Fits every time.
A woman of a certain age. Yes.
A happy woman of a certain age, I
good
think,
time
fits
gal.
everybody.
She is a good time gal.
We're digging it.
So she was born on August 19th, 1978.
Oh.
And was designed and built by Maripuri Herrero. And in 1997, she got her own song, Batador Marihaya.
Mari, I don't know it all, but it's a must, and you will learn it by the end of Aste Nagusia.
I still haven't learned it, but I like sing parts of it.
That's all. It's all. You know what is happening. It's just the what do you call the repeat part?
Oh, the
refrán in
the
Castilian, the chorus. You got the Mari bit.
Okay, so I've set the scene for what Aste Nagusia is.
This is what Aste Nagusia is, yeah. All our listeners have an idea. And unfortunately, we're talking about 83. I know you guys thought we were just laughing about fiestas, but no. There's actually a story here. Yeah. Hold on to your chapellas, guys.
Yeah, hold on to your chapella.
It's getting serious now.
Yes.
In 1983... Before the song was written, so I don't know if I can relate anymore, actually.
So in the year of our story, 1983, August 15th was on a Monday, and the fiesta started on Saturday, the 20th. The chosnas were built, ready for business, lining the Arenal.
Yeah.
The launch of the Chupinazo was at Begonia that year, which was an agreement between the mayor and the corporates of the PNV, which is that political party we've talked about.
One of the main...
Yeah. HB and EE, I don't even know who they are.
That's the left-wing Basque nationalists, the people I would have voted for.
Okay. And then the coordinating committee of the comparsas, okay? Mm-hmm. So they all decided to do the Chupinazo at Begonia.
Begonia, which is another neighborhood, not the old town. But
but the church that is the Virgin Saint Church of Bilbao that sits above the city.
Up the mountain from Old Town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they decided to put it there because the civil governor apparently wanted to raise the three flags at the town hall. The Bilbao flag, the Icoruña, which is the Basque flag, and the Spanish flag.
Well, you gotta live with what you gotta live with.
So I'm assuming that like in the early days, the Chupinazo was at the town hall. And that's why they decided to move it to Begonia. Because the civil governor wanted to raise the three flags, and people were like, no.
Right,
so
right.
Don't
do it in front of
Let's just go to Begonia where the
hall.
Virgin is.
Yeah.
And just do it from there. Okay?
Interesting.
So today it takes place at the Arenal at the Opera House. That's where the Chupinazo takes place.
It does, right in front of Arenal, yeah.
So the post the Chupinazo, the comparsas, and 2,500 partygoers descended onto the
Ariata.
Yes. To listen to this year's Pregoilari, the town crier, right? His proclamation, which was given by an athletic player. He gave the proclamation. Everyone's having a grand old time. Marihaya is there, but her song is yet to be written, so it's not being played ad nauseum at that point.
Everybody was innocent. Yes. I would say
it was the 80s.
People don't.
The outfits were amazing.
People don't have something to rally around. It's true that I'm sure the outfits were more amazing.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
So that first night was the first sign of things to come.
Okay.
A short but intense downpour fell onto the crowds as they partied into the night.
Boom. I mean, nothing too
That's
extraordinary here.
Not strange for Bilbao, right?
I mean, it rains.
This has never stopped Basque from partying. We are used to being rained on at any time of the year.
We have to be. If we didn't go out when it was raining, we'd never go out.
Exactly.
We
would get nothing done.
Yep.
The Mondragon Orchestra was performing that evening. The Gargantua was swallowing children and shitting them out.
How
The fireworks were attracting crowds. Like, everything was still going. Everybody was still partying.
1983.
But the rain continued throughout the week, and it was reported that the wet weather did not hinder the fun. There were, like, reports in the newspaper about the bullfighting taking place in a swimming pool. So they're, like, making little jokes about it. Like how, yeah. Yeah. And by Thursday, it was learned that the Chosnas had taken in 250% more than in the previous year.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they were making money.
And this was not the second year, so it's a good year.
Mm-hmm. So it was nearing the end of Big Week. Revelers were partying into the last weekend of festivities when disaster struck. So shall we break here before I get into disaster?
And we're back.
So let's get into the meat of our
basics.
story. So hang on to your chapella, Douglas.
I mean,
Everything's
yes.
about to go to hell.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I've
So-
seen it coming.
So like I said, they were coming into the last weekend of fiestas, right? They've already had a week full of rain. So Friday, the August 26th
Okay.
of 1983, 9 a.m., torrential rains are moving from east to west in Guipúzcoa. There were reports of like farmhouses in some isolated villages that were just being demolished by this destructive downpour.
Yeah.
So these
like
rains were already
mudslides.
causing problems. Yeah. But Bilbao was still relatively calm at that point.
Okay.
Around noon that day, Bilbao experienced a cold snap and the rain intensified. Okay.
Right.
The Nervion, which is the river that passes through the city and whose headstream begins outside of the town of Llodio, which is 20 kilometers inland. By 3 p.m., it was already threatening to overflow.
The
Okay.
river.
Yeah.
In Bilbao.
In
that's
Bilbao.
very high.
Yeah. So alarm was beginning to spread among the partygoers and the citizens of Bilbao as the water was growing higher and higher with every passing hour. By 7 p.m. that evening, the river was now filling the streets of Casco Viejo.
Which means it's filling Arenal
It's
as
overflowed.
well.
It's overflowed.
Which-
It's the,
Where all
along the river in the
party
Arenal.
temporary bars are set up.
Yeah. They were completely inundated with fast-moving water.
It's true. It's not just water. It's moving water. Yeah, it's true. Wow.
The Chosnas were now being swept away.
Yeah, because they're right next to the river.
Yep. Along with them, all the stereo equipment,
Yeah.
refrigerators, all the appliances that you would have behind the bar. At some,
Drinks.
Yeah, everything that you'd have back
The
there.
money.
The
all
money. The
gone.
money is just flowing.
I mean, these days, I think they probably take it out every day, but still.
The deluge of water swept through the Ribera Market, also on the river, right?
Yeah.
It ripped off its metal doors and dragged out all the contents that were inside the market. Yeah.
And this
So it was
is...
just like a water flow going right through the market.
La Ribera Market is a really big covered building market, which is next to the old town. And when they built it, it was the biggest covered market in Europe. Yeah, it's 3 stories high, and it's a lot
Really
of
nice
space.
building. Yeah.
It's pretty beautiful. It's been restored recently. It's
Yeah.
pretty nice. To imagine that with all this stuff just being...
Yeah, just ripped out of it.
Yeah, that is crazy. That's...
A cascade of water descended from Mont Arrais, destroying everything in its path. The Bilbao-Biabia Highway, which is the one that you would take to go to Donostia and then on to France.
Okay.
And the Malmacen Tunnel, which is that tunnel that goes...
Malmacin, yeah.
Malmacen Tunnel, which is the one that you go when you're leaving Bilbao. That whole highway was like a river.
Okay.
And the tunnel.
Wow.
It's just a river.
That's quite high, I think.
More than 5,000 vehicles were caught up in that flow of water.
In 83. That's like half the vehicles in this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating, but wow.
In Matico, there were landslides that brought down trees, stones, and earth, cutting off all the roads that run in and out of the city. The Abando train station transformed into a waterfall, and the train tracks were becoming like a literal river that channeled straight into the center of the city.
Wow. Yeah.
Manholes along the streets were bursting and flying through the air.
Wow.
So, like, if the water didn't kill you with all the debris that it was carrying, you might get hit by a flying manhole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Throughout Biscaya, rivers overflowed, creating landslides and immobilizing the entire populace. From Alaya Valley to Bilbao, the factories and various industries that lined the banks were destroyed in a matter of hours.
Wow. True.
And then, to add insult to injury, the tide came in.
Yeah, that was the big difference. It was this unlucky, because it wasn't the tide. And the thing is, this is part of lore of Bilbao, right? You just hear things. And the thing that just shocks me is this triple, quadruple coincidence, right? It's the super unusual rains. It's the tide coinciding at high at that moment. But then the thing that I am always like, fuck. It's like the wind was blowing right into the port, which made all the waves just be higher.
So once this happened, that the tide came in, the entire Ibaizabal basin gave way and overflowed up to 5 meters at various points. So those Americans that don't think in meters, a meter is essentially a yard, which is 3 feet. So that's like
5 yards.
15 feet. So this is like 5 meters at various points of Biscaya. Yes, a lot of water.
That's like second story is being flooded.
Yeah.
Sort of water.
Yeah, because
level.
a story is 10 feet.
I don't know that rule, but you go for it.
So that would be 2 meters and something.
250 maybe in old times.
No, not 2 meters, 3 meters and something.
That sounds very high for today, but
10 feet is the average of a building.
Days.
Is a story.
I'm not a builder.
You're not an architect.
I'm not
an architect. We never claim to be architects.
Don't take our advice for building your house. Don't.
3 meters and something. One of the remaining symbols of Bilbao's shipbuilding past was the ship called Consulado. It had been docked permanently in the river until the floodwaters loosened its moorings, causing it to violently smash from one side of the river to the other.
Oh, wow.
Until it finally sank.
Wow.
Yeah. Both the Bulueta and La Ribera bridges were wiped out. Okay. And in the neighborhoods of La Peña and Peñascal, entire buildings were taken down.
Oh, wow.
The city was then plunged into utter darkness as the night wore on in the ceaseless rain.
And that is crazy because La Peña is already part of the river and not the tidal river. So it went up so much that it invaded way up past what would generally be influenced by the tide. Like 5 meters is a lot.
So the citizens found themselves without electricity, gas, communications, transportation, drinking water, and countless thousands were without housing. The radio did, however, experience a comeback and was now the only means with which people could receive news and information and alert those unaffected to their dire situation.
Yeah, it was the 80s before mobiles. Mm-hmm. Can't even think about it that way anymore. That's crazy.
So there were constant public announcements on the radio telling people, quote, "Please, nobody leave the house. Stay away from Bilbao. Stay out of Biscaya. Nobody come near." This is what they're just yelling out over the radio.
Wow.
So the isolation was real because of the landslides, the tunnel floodings, and the missing highways and bridges. The city of Bilbao and other smaller municipalities throughout Biscaya were utterly stranded. One journalist stated after seeing the aftermath that Biscaya had become a great sea riddled with small islands. Throughout the night of the 26th, Friday the 26th, until Saturday the 27th, the only lights that could be seen were those of candles burning in the windows of homes where people were hunkering down. The sounds of the fiestas were eerily replaced by the sounds of vehicles and other debris being dragged through the city, smashing into each other or into the homes along the river.
Very poetic.
Accompanied by sounds of people's desperate cries for help. Yeah. So looking for assistance and getting off the roofs that they were stranded on. Man. Or others just shouting, "We want to live." Yeah. By 9 a.m. the following morning of August 27th, the endless rain finally let up. In just that 24-hour period, 1.5 million tons of water fell. In 24 hours. The aftermath was devastating, to say the least.
Yeah.
Most affected within the city of Bilbao was Casco Viejo and the neighborhood. Yep, in the neighborhood of La Peña. There were
which
two,
is just upriver, which is the one I was saying.
2 fatalities were reported from La Peña.
No.
And both of which were virtually like buried in mud. La Peña was like buried. And Casco was buried in mud.
Yeah.
You know, like today, if we go to the bars in Casco Viejo, some of them have like the water mark where how high the river or the water had reached.
And they're usually above
in the bar. Yeah.
They're around the first story level.
Yeah.
Like really high in the first story level.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of buildings would have had their first and second story affected. Like, I'm sure a lot. And when I say first story and second story, because I know there's disagreements.
The ground floor.
Yeah, the whole ground floor was either 80% full, or depending on the building, the ground floor plus the next floor would have had maybe 20-30 centimeters in their like next floor affected. So. Yeah,
not just water, but it would have been like mud and other shit, right? It would be everything that like flowed down. Yeah,
trees,
animals, dead animals.
Yeah,
I always think, oh, the poor little animal.
Yeah.
So, in Peñascal, which is located at the base of Monte Ariz, or Mount Ariz, that whole mountain became like an avalanche of rock and mud.
Landslide, that's what we call it.
Yeah, I know. I know, thank you. And it left 5,000 residents homeless.
That's a lot of people.
In just that, yeah. So, like, where do you even go when everybody around you is fucked? Like
the height of the water, a lot of the schools would have been inundated. Mm-hmm. So it's a very hard thing to deal with, for sure.
Other municipalities highly affected by the floods were Galdacao, Echevarri, Arrigorriaga, which we mentioned before.
You're doing great.
Basauri, Yodio, which we said was near the headstream of the Nervion. In Yodio, 5 people lost their lives when 4 Guardia Civil tried to save a young man who was drowning, and they all died.
That's so sad when that happens. It's really sad.
Yeah. There were reports that Bermeo, like that town that we talked about with the Galerna,
which used to be the capital of Biscaya.
Yes,
I know that place.
Yes. There were reports in the beginning that that whole town had been wiped out, Bermeo.
Oh my gosh.
And had disappeared.
I mean, because if that goes up 5 meters, like the same as here, you would cover the whole port, which is just around all the houses are around the port. So it would cover the first floor of all those houses and maybe the second floor. So it's understandable people would have assumed that.
So they're like saying, everybody's like, oh my God, Bermeo's gone. People were talking because nobody really knew.
Horrible, yeah.
You had only the radio. You had like no news.
Phones are down, no mobiles.
No news of anything, They were saying that the whole town had disappeared. But fortunately, this was not the case. The casino, though, apparently there was a casino that was on the pier. Mm-hmm. It was split in 2 by the force of the water.
Gosh. Pretty
so,
intense.
like, as you can see, there was, like, a lot of misinformation and a lack of information, and people were desperate to find their relatives and their loved ones, and all this mess. Telephones weren't an option for checking in on folks, so families left reassuring messages to be broadcast on the radio in the hopes that they would assuage any of those worries. To assuage the worries of people that were, like, thinking
Family
about them
members.
that didn't know what was happening, right? The radio also acted as a call to action for those in unaffected areas to donate and collect the vital necessities like medicine, drinking water, baby food.
Yeah.
It was also used as a means to communicate to the general populace where said items would be distributed.
Oh, that's
for
good.
those in need. Okay.
Now, this is what the Basque Country excels at: is community organization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just organization number 1, community number 2. They're good at it.
They are. They're good about coming together. Yeah.
They're organized.
People from all over Bilbao, the province of Euskadi, the provinces and all over Euskadi, they all came to the aid of Biscaya in trucks or on buses, and thousands of volunteers from both sides of the Nervion's bank pitched in to dig through the mess left in the flood's wake.
I've seen pictures of a cleanup, but it took a long time.
It was even reported that a famous clown called Tonetti, who was there performing, he was in town performing at the fiestas. He and his crew aided in the cleanup.
Oh, that's
the clown.
Sweet. That's sweet. A star.
The star clown.
Doing something for the people.
Yeah.
Moving.
Do you think he was in full makeup?
Mud.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. And, of course, the government did their part. They sent in the army to distribute food and whatnot.
I mean,
there
that's
was
not
firefighters, Guardia Civil, police. Needless to say, the fiestas were completely demolished.
Yeah.
The cleaning crews were headed by the comparsas that were down in the Casco Viejo and stuff.
You see, that's why I'm in love with the Basque Country. Isn't it so sweet? People
So it was
just
like made up
rally around each other and really, it's so community oriented. It's so sweet.
It was made up mostly of young people, students, waiters, office workers, like everybody. They were armed with boots and shovels and little else in terms of protection.
Yeah.
If anything, some wore makeshift cardboard masks for the stink. Because you can imagine.
I mean, a cardboard
that
mask.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything is rotting and
we've been familiarized with masks in the last few years.
Yeah.
What the fuck is a cardboard mask?
But a cardboard mask, yeah. So the chosnas were found like a pile of wreckage of metal and whatever else is in the chosna. It was found all around the kiosk that's in the Arenal.
So that's like a little tiny stage. The
Yeah,
kiosk.
it's a stage, and then there's a bar, and there's
and underneath there's a bar.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of what we call Arenal / Ariatza.
Mm-hmm. So that's where most of the chosna debris ended up. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
the only chosna to survive.
Oh, there was one.
Yes, fully intact.
Ooh.
Well, probably not fully, but mostly intact.
Uh-huh.
Was Pimpilipausa!
Oh my gosh.
The gay party chosna.
I mean, they've never been very gay. They're very gay today, but they're all about party. They're not necessarily gay at all.
Okay.
So,
well, I always associate them with the gay.
They're very gay friendly.
Yes.
They're very gay. And I think they always have been, if you can tell about their choice of food.
Yeah. The cake and champagne cup.
Yeah. Oh,
so it was reported to have flowed all the way out to the mouth of the estuary, near Portugalete. They found it mostly intact.
So it actually flowed
all the way down
3 or 4
river.
kilometers.
Yes.
And it was intact.
More than that, no? That's not more than 3 kilometers. It's more like 15.
Maybe 5. No, not 15, but 5, yes.
All the way to the mouth.
I think
Portugalete.
so. I think so. I'm impressed. 10 points.
So Maricaya, she met the same fate. She was also found crushed among all the debris in the
it's so romantic
near
that they
the
found
Arenal kiosk.
Very romantic.
Yeah, half her face was missing, but her eyes were still eerily in place. So, the things she must have seen. Look at her.
Oh my gosh,
Look
that
at
is
her
such
face.
an eerie picture.
I know. It's like a gaping hole where her
basically,
nose would be.
Everything.
But her eyes are there.
Yeah,
her eyes and forehead.
Yeah.
So we'll put these pictures up.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's very poetic.
The Ribera Market, the one we talked about along the river, it was completely gutted. There were gaping holes where the entrances were. Mud and debris filled the whole interior, where vendors have stands, to sell fish, meat, fruits, vegetables, all that stuff, but here's the Ribera Market. What did it look like?
Oh my gosh. It's crazy. Yeah, it's so destroyed.
Yeah.
So the whole front of it kind of came off. Mm-hmm. But the main body seems kind of mostly structurally intact.
The structure,
But it's almost like the 2 long sides survived, and then the one...
where the water came through, it just
they just
shoved a hole through
emptied it.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's next
Insane
to the river.
What water can do, right?
But it's always 2-3 meters above the water, so it's crazy to imagine 5 extra meters, because that's over the 2nd floor. Wow. It's
the media reports that came out repeated the same proclamations of devastation to describe what had become of Vizcaya and the city of Bilbao, mostly. Quote, Dante image, dramatic situation, unprecedented catastrophe, desolate appearance, heartbreaking scene, sensation of terror, devastation, corpses floated, stinking smell, fear, panic, terror, uncertainty, psychoses, apocalypse, nerves, tension, rage, desolation. Or phrases such as, the vicinity of the estuary is the closest thing to the remains of a city at war.
Ooh.
End quote. Should we take a break before we finish?
Let's do that.
Ay,
back.
We're back. Okay. So there were stories of survival that have been recounted in a documentary called 1983 Euskadi Inundada. So one of those stories was from Javier Uriarte.
Yeah, perfect.
He was working in his family's factory when the flood caught him and his family by surprise. He relayed how the water immediately started entering the building with no warning, which forced them upstairs to the office, and when that started to fill with water, they were forced onto the roof.
Oh my gosh.
They were stranded there on the roof until some kind residents rescued them by stretching a 5-meter ladder.
Oh my gosh.
Remember, 5 meters is about 15 feet.
10 points, Julie. Thinking about your poor...
The Americans. So they stretched the ladder from a neighboring bridge to the factory's roof, creating like a very scary tiny bridge.
Absolutely.
They had to scale across to safety. Could you imagine? Oh my God. No, and pouring rain, and it's slippery probably.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that would be so terrifying.
Don't know when the water's gonna subside.
Oh
so,
God, that was
yeah.
so terrifying. So you would take the ladder across.
Of course, yeah. But even think, so he was with his family, you say?
Yeah, because it's like a family business factory.
So imagine, I hope none of the kids were there, but even there, even if it's like dad, mom, and
brothers-in-law or whatever, brothers.
Who goes first? Yeah. The scaredy one. Can we go
you
more
got
than
this.
one? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
intense.
This was the biggest natural disaster that the Basque Country had ever experienced, and it came on the heels of an unemployment crisis due to the ever-increasing decline in the industrial sector.
Yeah.
That had made the region one of the most, this industrial sector that was Euskadi was one of the most prosperous, right, in the peninsula.
Yeah, industry has always been very big here, and
in the 80s, it all kind of...
Same thing happened in France, same thing happened in the UK.
Yeah.
Industry was dislocated. They went other places were cheaper, and here it became, a lot of unemployment. Mm-hmm.
The floods literally wiped out all of the industry along the river in Greater Bilbao, and in effect, it permanently closed many of them. Yeah.
A lot of industries were in decline. Like let's just remind people that the industry here was very traditional as a basis. So it was all about iron ore, shipbuilding, mining, exporting the mining. So, all those heavier industry kind of things were very much in decline in the 80s. So, it's not a nice way to go, but it's an efficient way to change gears and change direction.
And it did. Well, according to the stats, at least 26,000 jobs were lost.
A lot of...
The humblest of families had lost everything.
Yeah.
And there were reports of, quote, all hell breaking loose in the poorest of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So, the days following the catastrophe, there were 30 arrests reported for looting of businesses and private homes. So there's our crime.
We got a crime, everybody, with their notepad. It's kind of natural that you loot at that point. I mean...
Yeah.
And the week I had,
you have nothing.
I've lost my
nothing
job.
To lose,
my company was blown into the river.
House. Yeah.
I need some bread next week. What you gonna do? Just steal some bread.
Yeah. People were also reported for taking advantage of the vulnerable by extorting the prices of basic necessities like water and food, of course. Okay. A loaf of bread, for example, was 100. They're charging like 100 pesetas. So that's like between two. I looked it up, but I don't know if it's accurate. It's like between €2.50 and €5 for a loaf of bread. That's a lot.
It's a lot when you're hungry. Yeah, it's not.
140 pesetas for a bottle of water, which is like between €3 and €7. In Casco Viejo, every single business was destroyed.
Yeah, because every single first floor, which is where the businesses are, were completely covered in water. Mm-hmm. And if that didn't fuck your shit,
with mud. It was just
I mean, most of your equipment's going to be spoiled.
Yeah. And it took over a decade for Casco Viejo to recover.
Yeah.
So not until like 93.
Yeah, I would say post that, really, just because of what I've read.
Yeah, it says over a decade, so 10 plus years to recover fully.
Yeah. So the real recovery of the old town was post Guggenheim. It's recognized as one of the best revivals of an old town because an old town a lot of times can be left over in a corner. It might not be, as part of the city. And until this program by the city hall, and what they did was they pedestrianized everything, number one. They fixed all of the structure of all the buildings, including electricity and water. And roofs and facades, and if the people couldn't pay for it, City Hall would make it happen. Either give you a loan,
subsidies,
or just good loans. So it's one of the best examples in Europe of turning around an old town.
The same happened like in Recalde. There was a lot of workshops and other small family businesses that were destroyed.
I can't believe the water reached there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, it was the landslide from Monterrey.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, because Bilbao's in a valley, several of those neighborhoods that were covered in mud and rock were detached by landslides. There was lots of homes that were just, left in, kind of precarious, standing, right?
Yeah.
The force of the water raised many roads, the roads kind of
burst up.
Almost burst up like an earthquake, right? In total, 34 people lost their lives, with 5 people missing, so 35.
Yeah.
Or 39.
Yeah, 39.
I know, 35.
It's okay.
5. I can do that math. That's not that hard.
Hey, it's a running joke.
Plus 5 is 39.
We got there in the end.
So yeah, 39 people. And then, not to mention all the little animals that lost their lives. 101 Basque municipalities were devastated.
Wow.
1.2 million euros worth of damage in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that was a third of which is in Bilbao.
Yeah, that's nothing really today. That's like a few houses.
Right, that's
today.
in the 80s, yeah.
So, yeah.
So who knows, yeah.
Yeah, who knows.
So despite all this devastation and dismay and disaster, it did bring out the best in the city.
Yeah.
So makeshift relief centers popped up in schools and private homes where people donated clothes, furniture, food, supplies. Strangers took in families.
Of course.
Restaurants who'd lost all electricity set to work cooking up all the food they had in stock to be distributed.
So sweet.
The press decreed that the floods had awakened the humanity of the city and was unlike anything that had been seen before.
It's true.
So the floods brought about a new Bilbao, as you were saying.
Sure.
The former long-standing mayor, 15-year run until his death in 2014. So we were here when he was mayor.
Ascuna.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
What's his first name?
I forget.
Come on, Dougal. So guess it. It's a very Basque name. It also starts with an I.
Oh, I really should know. Because I knew his surname.
I know.
Give me no more help.
Iñaki? Yes! Iñaki! Good job. Yes, Iñaki.
I've got a mental block for the Iñakis.
Yes. So Iñaki Ascuna said of the floods, quote, "The current town has little to do with that gray, polluted city, with little job prospects for its inhabitants. For example, the metro and the Guggenheim arose in its transformation."
Yeah.
The current mayor, he said, quote, "They were difficult times for our economy, and the rains finished sinking the old Bilbao to make way for the new one."
Yeah.
So that's basically the end of my story, but I did ask my in-laws about what they remember, and my mother-in-law
nice thing to
said
add.
that they were on holiday in Galicia at the time.
Far west of the
And
peninsula.
yeah, she had been talking by phone with her sister, who lived in Erandio, which is
low-lying,
one of the municipalities, along the river.
north from here. Yeah.
And she kept, every time they would talk on the phone, she kept saying, "Oh my God, I'm getting really scared. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good."
Wow.
And then finally, the phone cut out. They couldn't
She didn't know
communicate anymore. So they didn't even have like a radio where they were staying. So she said that they went down to like the bar to just watch the news to see what was happening in Bilbao. And so of course you're just seeing the worst. Their house was not affected because they're kind of like they're in El Bosque, which is like right next to Achuri.
Yeah, up the hill.
So they're up a hill, yeah. Both she and my father-in-law remembered when they were on their way back to Bilbao, stopping in Burgos and knowing that there was no water in Bilbao to buy water in Burgos and getting ripped off.
Oh, what?
Like they were charging
like
100
or 200 kilometers away.
Yeah.
It's like 100
exuberant
miles
prices
away.
to get water.
And they're still...
And that's what they remember like being like, what? That much for some water? Yeah. Of course, my mother-in-law is all like family focused when I asked her about it. And then my father-in-law, his memories are just all about going to work. Okay. So he was working in, he worked for the bank. So his office was in Sababru, which wasn't affected. Okay. Right? Some of it, somewhat.
It's a bit higher.
Yeah. So he remembers having to, like, all transactions having to be written out by hand because there was no electricity, and also that they had to save things that were like in safe boxes.
Safe deposit?
Safe deposit boxes. Yes, that's what they're called. Like stamp collections. Oh. He remembers having to like save those and like newly minted money.
I'm happy we covered that. I think it's important for anybody who comes to visit Bilbao and to just kind of understand the city. And we are such a story of being reborn because of the Guggenheim internationally today, that I think that's a great kind of context to kind of why we had to, in a way, right? Of course, I'm not advocating for that, but somehow here the situation was so dire and so difficult that I think people, just searched for better ideas. I would hope. I think that must have contributed to their reimagining themselves. Yeah. And building the Guggenheim and reimagining the city not as an industrial city but as a cultural city and
service city,
which really at that point seems ridiculous and unimaginable. Yeah. Really, when
it was, yeah.
Because we know what a beautiful, fun, city it is today, and how modern it is with all the transport and the metro. But yeah, but
back in the day, we talked about this. Like people wouldn't. Some days you wouldn't go outside because the pollution was so bad from the industry and the river. Like whenever I say, "Oh, that river doesn't look very clean," they're like, "Oh, you should have seen it in the '80s." Or
exactly.
It was nasty.
Exactly, stinking and all the
acid rain and stuff and.
So in a way, all of not all of that, but a lot of that was washed away. Yeah. And nobody had to close that industry. It just got washed away.
Yeah. And we were saying that this year was the 40th anniversary.
Yeah. Very appropriate, Julie. That was well done.
Someone told us, but we didn't get a picture, which I wish we had, of they were on the Chosnas. They were putting the line where the water would have reached.
I didn't see that. I never realized. Yeah. Oh.
And this year, we didn't have like a week of rain. It was pretty hot during fiestas this year.
Some rain towards the end.
Yes, on Friday.
True.
The last Friday, which was what happened in the story. The last Friday is when all that rain fell.
I wasn't feeling the trauma. But
I was thinking about it because, of course, I was like researching the story at the time, and I was just like, "It's happening on the last Friday of fiestas again. Here we go."
You couldn't even tell me. That's sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah, because we hung out, and I couldn't tell Douglas because I had to surprise him.
Well, it was worth it, Julie. Thank you for keeping the secret. I love the story, even though I kind of knew what was coming from the title. Yeah. Because it's just something that we lived. Well known, yeah. No, I'm so happy you covered that. That's a great one.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Write to us.
We're on YouTube now. We've got all the episodes on YouTube.
Yes.
And I think they do the subtitles if anybody is struggling with our English, because I know not everybody is an English native language speaker. So on YouTube, they try to transcribe us. I wonder what they do.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious. I haven't watched any of them.
We're not guaranteeing anything.
But they're all up there. All our episodes are up. And we have a website, too, that has all of our episodes, crimesofthebasquelands.com.
With links, yes.
You can write to us at crimesofthebasquelands@gmail.com. You can follow us, rate and review us if you are so inclined.
And please do, because every little like really makes a difference to a small channel like us. And thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you. We would like to bid you agur. Crimes of the Basque Lands is written and produced by
Douglas D. Carvalho,
Julie Garcia.
I'm Megan Dooley.
The sound and editing for each episode by
Douglas D. Carvalho,
I'm Megan Dooley.
Theme song written by
Douglas D. Carvalho,
Julie Garcia.
I'm Megan Dooley.
Sung by the choir with no name and produced by Tom Squires. Podcast art by Distinct Signal. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Crimes of the Basque Lands, and contact us at crimesofthebasquelands@gmail.com with story ideas worldwide which have a connection to the Basque Country, or any rave reviews. If you like our podcast, please subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time,
agur.